Welcome back to the Surrey Hills. With this issue we're going to be looking at some myths and misconceptions that often surround the wonderful world of skills training. Oversimplification of advice can lead to sound bites which don't help riders much and can be misinterpreted and lead to problems rather than solutions. Some of these myths and misconceptions can affect the very foundations of your riding. This can then become more and more apparent as the trail becomes more and more technical, and very quickly small issues on less technical trail become big problems when the mountains get bigger and the trails get steeper and the speeds get higher. As well as seeking some clarity with the fundamentals, we're going to apply a bit more considered thought to various trail scenarios and set about myth busting. There's no doubt that some of the well-established advice and much reported advice from various sources does hit the mark, but it's very easy for things to get lost in the translation. There are many myths and misrepresentations out there, many sound bites that don't make sense. We're going to pick perhaps the most important of those and the most commonly misunderstood. You'll often read about adopting the attack position as your fundamental position when riding trail. Let's take a look at that one first and maybe make a few changes to our understanding there, which might lead on to greater changes all throughout and permeate throughout our riding. Right at the heart of your riding is your core position, your ready position. Shouldn't be thinking about attacking anything. That would suggest a state of tension and aggression that is unnecessary and unhelpful in your riding. So let's look at the difference between perhaps what some would see as the correct position and our thoughts on that. To suggest we adopt one core position and keep it there for any great length of time would be wrong. Of course we want to be fluid and moving around the bike plenty, but if we start from the right place and with the right dynamics in effect, things are going to go much more smoothly than if we get things wrong from the very outset. So the old school attack position, elbows up and forward, 50% of the weight on your hands, 50% of the weight on your feet, can lead to some real problems and isn't the way people ride. As Josh comes through, we'll see when he does this, he puts most of his weight in front of the middle line of the bike, the centre line of the bike. There's a real emphasis on his mass dragging the bike along rather than engaging with the bike and pushing through it. Perched up on top of the bike, shoulders, elbows out and forward, brings Josh's body forward of centre line. He's not engaging with the bike very successfully, he's perched on top ready to be thrown. We want to drive the bike along. Desirable to have slightly flex in the arms and legs at all times, obviously to absorb bumps, but we don't need to be John Wayne about things. We don't need to go bandy-legged and throw everything out super wide. We just need to adopt a nice, relaxed, comfortable position. So let's flip this on its head and see how this attack position perhaps could correctly be described as a ready position with a few small changes. So this time Josh is going to come through in what I would describe as a ready position, ready to deal with the trail ahead, ready to make moves and changes as required. Rather than thinking about too much weight on the hands, let's think about centering the weight through the feet, down through the bottom bracket, spreading his weight distribution through either wheel. Just because he's not leaning on the bars doesn't mean there isn't weight on the front wheel. We'll also have a slight drop in the heels and wrists, so rather than his mass being conveyed by the bike, he's effectively using his mass to drive the bike through sections. When the wheel meets something that is going to stall it slightly, his momentum will drive down and through and drive the bike up and over things rather than clonking on top and getting bounced around. So with level cranks, a nice solid platform to work from, dropping the heels in, pushing into the bike. The mass is down and through the bike. The hands are actually quite light. That doesn't mean we're going to let the bars bounce up at us at any time, but we can push back into the bike when required. If your hands are light to start with, there's lots of opportunity to push into the bike and gain traction. If you're too heavy onto the front of the bike, there's no room for adding extra force when you require it.